I should have known something was wrong when Bryant's mother insisted on giving the first toast at our engagement party. But there I stood, champagne flute in hand, floating in what I thought was my fairy tale moment among crystal chandeliers and perfectly arranged white roses. My name is Olive, and this is the story of how I lost everything in front of 150 people, and then made sure I wasn't the only one. To my dear son Bryant, Greta's voice rang out across the ballroom, crystal clear and dripping with false warmth, and to his choice. Her pause was deliberate, her eyes scanning the crowd of Manhattan's elite before landing on me with barely concealed disdain. I felt Bryant's hand tighten around my waist, not in protection, in warning. When Bryant first told me about Olive, I must admit I was surprised. Greta's perfectly painted lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. After all, we had such different expectations for him, someone more suitable to our family's position. The room grew uncomfortably quiet. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me, watching, waiting. My best friend Edith shifted in her seat, her face darkening. But here we are, Greta continued, her voice rising. Though I must say, it's rather remarkable how someone from such modest beginnings managed to catch the eye of my Bryant. Rather remarkable indeed. The champagne in my glass trembled. I forced myself to breathe. "Mother," Bryant said, but his tone wasn't defensive. It was amused. He actually chuckled. "What?" Greta's eyes widened in mock innocence. "I'm simply pointing out how far she's come. From that tiny apartment with her grandfather to, well, this." She gestured around the grand ballroom. "It's like a modern Cinderella story, isn't it? Though I suppose in this version, Cinderella's fairy godfather left her something in his will." Scattered, nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. I felt my cheeks burn. "I guess I'm settling," Bryant added, and the casual cruelty in his voice made my heart stop. But Mother's right. She's come a long way. In that moment, everything crystallized. Every subtle dig, every backhanded compliment, every time Bryant had asked me to tone it down around his family, it all made perfect sense. I wasn't his love story. I was his charity case. But then, like a lightning bolt, I remembered the envelope, the one my grandfather had given me on his deathbed, making me promise not to open it until I was absolutely certain about marriage, the one sitting in my safe at home, still sealed. "Olive, darling," Greta's voice cut through my thoughts. "Nothing to add? No touching words about how grateful you are?" I looked at her, then at Bryant, then at the sea of faces, some embarrassed, some entertained, all waiting for my response. My hand stopped shaking. Slowly, deliberately, I reached for the microphone. "Actually, I do have something to say." My voice came out steady, clear. "The wedding is unequivocally off." The silence that followed was deafening. "Olive," Bryant hissed, grabbing my arm. "Don't be dramatic." I pulled away from him, turning to face our guests. "I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Unfortunately, this engagement party has turned into something else entirely, a revelation of character." Greta's face had gone white. "Now, dear, let's not—" "I'm not finished." I cut her off, my voice ice cold. "You're right about one thing, Greta. My grandfather did leave me something, but you have no idea what it was or what it means. And now?" I smiled, and for the first time that evening, it was genuine. "Now you never will." I placed the microphone on the nearest table, slipped off my engagement ring, and set it next to my untouched champagne flute. The diamond caught the light, throwing sparkles across the pristine white tablecloth. "Goodbye, Bryant. Goodbye, Greta. I hope this party was worth every penny, because it's the last one you'll ever throw with my name attached to it." And with that, I walked out of the ballroom, leaving behind a stunned silence and the beginning of what would become the most expensive lesson the Steele family had ever learned. My hands were shaking as I unlocked my apartment door, but not from sadness. Rage and determination had replaced the shock, leaving me with crystal clear purpose. I kicked off my heels and went straight to my home office, where the safe held my grandfather's final gift. "Olive?" Edith's voice called from the hallway. She'd followed me home. "I brought wine and your phone. You left it at the venue. It's been blowing up." "Perfect timing," I said, emerging with the envelope. "I need a witness for this." The envelope was thick, cream-colored, with my grandfather's distinctive handwriting across the front. "For Olive, open only when you're sure about marriage." "Is that—" Edith sat down on my couch, already pouring generous glasses of red wine. "Grandfather's last letter, yes?" I broke the seal carefully. He made me promise not to open it until I was certain about marriage. I guess tonight counts, just not in the way I expected. Inside were several documents and a handwritten letter. As I unfolded it, my grandfather's voice seemed to fill the room. "My dearest Olive, if you're reading this, you believe you found someone worthy of your heart. I pray that's true. But if it's not, if instead you're reading this because someone has revealed themselves to be unworthy, then what follows is your shield and sword. You are the sole heir to my fortune, but with one crucial condition. You can never marry someone who doesn't truly value and respect you. The moment such disrespect is demonstrated publicly, a special trust activates, protecting your inheritance from any marriage-based claims. In other words, my darling girl, anyone trying to marry you for money will find themselves empty-handed." "Holy shit," Edith whispered, reading over my shoulder. My phone buzzed again. Bryant's name flashed on the screen. "Answer it," Edith urged. "On speaker." I picked up. "Hello, Bryant." "Baby, you're being ridiculous." His voice was slurred. "Come back to the party. Mother's sorry. We can fix this." "Can we? How exactly would you fix publicly calling me your settlement option?" "Don't be so sensitive. You know how Mother gets with champagne, and I was just playing along." "Playing along with humiliating me in front of everyone we know? Look," his tone shifted to businesslike, "we both know this marriage makes sense. Your grandfather's connections, my family's influence, it's a perfect match." I laughed, and the sound surprised even me. "Actually, about my grandfather—" "What about him?" "Call Sydney Willis. She's my lawyer. She'll explain everything." I hung up before he could respond. Edith was already dialing Sydney's number on her own phone. "Hi, Sydney. It's time. Olive's opening the envelope." "Yes, exactly what we suspected. Can you come over now?" Within 30 minutes, Sydney arrived, briefcase in hand. She'd already known about the trust. My grandfather had made sure of that. "I've been waiting for this call," Sydney said, spreading documents across my coffee table. "Your grandfather was brilliant, Olive. The trust is ironclad. But more than that, every benefit the Steels have received based on your engagement, they'll have to pay it all back." "What benefits?" Edith asked. "The country club memberships," I said quietly. "The business deals through grandfather's old contacts, the early wedding gifts, the down payment on that Hamptons house they suddenly could afford." "All of it," Sydney confirmed. "Your grandfather's will is specific. Any advantages gained through a fraudulent engagement must be repaid in full." My phone buzzed again. Greta this time. I declined the call. "How long have you known about this?" Edith asked. "I suspected something was wrong weeks ago," I admitted. "The way they acted when they thought I wasn't watching. I called Sydney then, just to be prepared." Sydney smiled, sharp and ready. "And now we can proceed. Are you ready for this, Olive? Let's make them regret everything." I picked up my wine glass, studying the deep red liquid. In its reflection, I saw my grandfather's knowing smile, his quiet strength. He'd known this day might come. He'd armed me not just with money, but with justice. "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "I'm ready. Let's begin." "Let's start with the Aspen Chalet," Sydney said, tapping her pen against a growing list. "The one they coincidentally got access to after your engagement?" 3 days had passed since the party, and we were gathered in my apartment, surrounded by papers, receipts, and wedding gifts. Edith sat cross-legged on the floor, cataloging everything into a spreadsheet. 7 weeks of prime ski season access, Edith read from her laptop. Market value, roughly $175,000. Add the private jet they used to get there all country. I added. Grandfather's old partner only offered that because of me. Sydney's smile grew sharper. Another $80,000. Next. The Cartier jewelry suite, Edith continued. A welcome to the family gift from Greta's sister, purchased using your grandfather's special client discount. My phone buzzed for the 100th time. Bryant again. You should hear this, Edith said, pressing play on a voicemail from earlier. Olive, baby, your lawyer's being ridiculous. Those gifts were given freely. Mother's having anxiety attacks. Please be reasonable. You're acting like we committed some crime. Call me back. Speaking of crimes, Sydney interjected, let's talk about the Hamptons house. The one they put a down payment on using the pre-approved mortgage they only got because of your grandfather's bank connections? $2 million property, Edith whistled. That's going to hurt when they have to give it back. My intercom buzzed. The doorman's voice crackled through. Mrs. Steele is here. She's quite insistent. I exchanged looks with Sydney and Edith. Send her up. Ready for this? Edith asked, straightening papers. Born ready. Greta burst through my door moments later, designer handbag clutched like a shield. Her perfectly maintained facade showed cracks, smudged mascara, trembling hands. Olive, this has gone far enough, she started, then stopped short at the sight of Sydney. What is all this? Please sit down, I gestured to an empty chair. We were just discussing the Hamptons house, the one you bought using my grandfather's connections. That house is ours, Greta snapped. The bank approved us based on our credentials. Actually, Sydney cut in, sliding forward a document. The approval was contingent on Olive's grandfather's relationship with the bank. Without that connection, you wouldn't have qualified for the loan. This is absurd, Greta's voice rose. Those were gifts. You can't just... They were benefits obtained under false pretenses, Sydney interrupted. Section 7.3 of Zachary's will is very clear about this. False pretenses? Greta laughed hysterically. We welcomed you into our family. Did you? I leaned forward. Let's see. You called me unsuitable, implied I was a gold digger, and your son admitted he was settling for me, all at our engagement party. We were showing your true colors, Edith suggested sweetly. Sydney passed Greta another document. This is the preliminary list of benefits received under the engagement. You have 2 options, return everything or provide monetary compensation for the full amount. Greta's face went pale as she saw the total. This is extortion. No, I stood up, walking to my door. This is karma, and it's only the beginning. Bryant will never agree to this. Bryant doesn't have a choice. The legal papers have already been filed. Oh, and Greta? I opened my door. The country club called. They're revoking your membership. Apparently, they don't appreciate members who publicly humiliate other members. Greta stormed out, but not before I caught the flash of real fear in her eyes. Her phone was already at her ear as she walked away, presumably calling Bryant. That was beautiful, Edith said after I closed the door. But you didn't tell her about the business deals. Not yet, Sydney smiled. Always keep something in reserve. Speaking of which, she pulled out another folder. 3 of your grandfather's former business partners called. They're withdrawing from deals with Bryant's firm. My phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. You don't know me, but I have information about Bryant you need to hear. Ask Edith about Tamara. I showed the text to Edith, whose eyes widened. Oh my God, she whispered. This is about to get so much better. I picked up my coat. This is their bill, I said, gathering the documents. Time to deliver it personally. Tamara was nothing like I expected. She sat across from me at a quiet cafe, elegant and composed, stirring her coffee with steady hands. No hint of the crazy ex-girlfriend Bryant had once described to me. I should have come forward sooner, she said, placing her phone on the table between us. But I was ashamed and afraid of what Greta might do. Why now? I asked. Because what they did to you at that party? Tamara's eyes met mine. They did the same thing to me 2 years ago. Different setting, same script. Edith, sitting beside me, leaned forward. Tell her everything. Tamara unlocked her phone and pulled up a conversation thread. Bryant and I were together for 3 years. He promised marriage, a future, right until Greta decided I wasn't advantageous enough for their family plans. She handed me the phone. The messages made my stomach turn. Bryant. Mom found someone better connected, some girl whose grandfather has serious pull. Don't worry, it's just business. Tamara. What about us? Everything you promised? Bryant. Be realistic. We had fun, but I need this marriage. Her connections could double our firm's value. Keep scrolling, Tamara said quietly. More messages appeared, these from just 2 months ago, while Bryant was engaged to me. Bryant. Miss you. This engagement is just for show. Once the deals go through. Tamara. You're terrible. She seems nice. Bryant. She is. Nice and useful. But you're the one I want. There's more. Tamara pulled out a small USB drive. Voice messages, photos, dates that overlap with your engagement, even a weekend in Miami last month when he told you he was at a business conference. My hands were steady as I took the drive. Why keep all this? Insurance, she smiled grimly. Greta threatened to destroy my career when I tried to warn their last target. I learned to keep receipts. Their last target? Edith asked. You weren't the first, Olive, just the first to fight back. Tamara pulled up another folder on her phone. 3 other women in the past 5 years, all with valuable family connections, all humiliated when they'd served their purpose. But none of them had a grandfather like mine, I said. Exactly. Tamara's smile turned genuine. When I saw the news about your trust fund condition, God, I almost cheered. Then Edith found me through mutual friends and... She shrugged. Here we are. My phone buzzed. A message from Sydney. Bryant's firm just lost 2 major clients. He's trying to damage control. As if on cue, Tamara's phone lit up with a call from Bryant. She showed us the screen. Answer it, I said. On speaker. Tamara? Bryant's voice was tense. We need to talk. About what, Bryant? About Olive? About Miami last month? A pause. Who have you been talking to? Does it matter? Your game's over. No more playing women for their connections. You don't understand what you're doing, he hissed. Mother's lawyers. Can't touch me, Tamara cut in. But I hear your lawyers are pretty busy right now anyway. How's that Hampton's house working out? The line went dead. He'll call back, Tamara said, pocketing her phone. He always does, but this time I'm not answering. Thank you, I said, for all of this. Don't thank me. Just finish what you started. Tamara stood, gathering her things. Oh, and one more thing. Check your email. I sent you a recording of Greta from last week. She was at a charity lunch, talking about your engagement to her friends. Trust me, you'll want to hear it. After she left, Edith and I huddled over my phone, playing the audio file. Greta's voice filled our corner of the cafe. Bryant needed to marry her. Her grandfather's connections were essential for our expansion plans. Now it's all ruined because she couldn't take a little teasing. These new money girls are so sensitive. I stopped the recording, a cold smile forming. Sydney needs to hear this. What are you thinking? Edith asked. I'm thinking it's time to show them exactly how sensitive I can be. I stood up, gathering the USB drive and my phone. Call Sydney. Tell her to add intentional emotional distress to the lawsuit. Where are you going? To the Steel estate, I said, pulling on my coat. I think it's time for another conversation with my almost mother-in-law. The Steel estate's gates opened automatically when I arrived. They hadn't yet changed the security codes. As I parked my car, a familiar figure emerged from behind the hedges. Alec, Bryant's childhood best friend and the family's financial advisor. "Olive?" he called out softly. "Got a minute?" I hesitated. Alec had always been kind to me, but he was still Bryant's friend. "It's important," he added, glancing nervously at the house. "And you'll want to hear this before you go in there." We walked to the garden pavilion where Alec pulled out his tablet. "I've been managing their accounts for years," he said, "but what they did to you, it was the last straw." "Why are you helping me?" "Because you're not the first," he sighed, "but I want you to be the last. Look at this." He showed me a series of financial records. They've been living way beyond their means for years. Each new engagement brought a fresh influx of connections, deals, and capital. They'd burn through it, then Greta would find another target. "And you just watched it happen?" "I tried to stop it once." His face darkened. "Greta threatened to expose some manufactured dirt on my family, but now?" He smiled. "You've given me the perfect opportunity to do the right thing." He forwarded several documents to my phone. "Their company's hemorrhaging clients. 3 major investors pulled out this morning. Bryant's been moving money around trying to cover it up, but..." "But?" "But I've documented everything. Every questionable transaction, every misrepresentation. Sydney will know what to do with it." My phone buzzed. A text from Greta. "We need to talk, now." "She's desperate," Alex said. "The bank called about the Hamptons house this morning. They're reviewing the loan approval." I stood up. "Thank you, Alec." "Wait," he caught my arm. "There's more. Bryant. He's been embezzling from the company trust fund. Small amounts, but over years. I have proof." "Why tell me this?" "Because you deserve to know exactly who you escaped." He released my arm. "And because someone needs to stop them." I found Greta in her study, looking considerably less polished than usual. Papers covered her desk, and her hands shook as she poured herself a drink. "Olive," she attempted her usual commanding tone, "this has gone far enough. Name your price." "My price?" "To make this go away. Everyone has one." She pulled out her checkbook. "Just tell me what you want." "I want you to feel what it's like," I said quietly. "To be humiliated, to lose everything you took for granted. Don't be dramatic, we can fix this." "Like you fixed it with Tamara?" Greta's glass froze halfway to her lips. "What? Or the others before me? How many women's lives did you try to ruin, Greta? That ungrateful little..." She caught herself. "Whatever Tamara told you..." "Is on record," I cut in, "along with your voice messages, Bryant's texts, and now..." I held up my phone, showing Alec's documents. "Your company's financial records." The color drained from her face. "Alec wouldn't dare." "He already has. The SEC will be very interested in Bryant's creative accounting." "You're bluffing." I played Tamara's recording of Greta's charity lunch comments. Her own voice filled the room. "Bryant needed to marry her." "Turn that off." "Why? Isn't this what you wanted? An audience for your true feelings?" Greta slumped in her chair. "What do you really want?" "I want you to remember this moment," I said, standing. "Every time you look at your bank statement, every time you're denied entry to a social event, every time Bryant's firm loses another client." I walked to the door. "I want you to remember that you did this to yourselves." "We'll fight this," she called after me, but her voice wavered. "Good." I turned back one last time. "Because Sydney has 7 more witnesses ready to testify about your family's pattern of exploitation. Should make for interesting headlines." As I walked out, my phone pinged with a message from Sydney. "Bank just froze their accounts pending investigation. Ready for phase 2? I smiled, typing back, "Absolutely. Let's show them what new money can really do." The private dining room at Le Bernardin wasn't my choice for this meeting. It was Greta's last desperate attempt at maintaining appearances. She sat across from me, her Hermes scarf slightly askew, her usual imperial posture crumbling. "1 week," she said, sliding a folder across the table. That's all we're asking for. 1 week to make this right. I didn't touch the folder. Make what right exactly? The public humiliation? The years of manipulating women for their connections? Brian's creative accounting? I'll make a public apology. She leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper. Full page in the Times. I'll say whatever you want. And Bryant? He's indisposed at the moment. Her lips tightened. The board called an emergency meeting this morning. I know. I took a sip of water. I heard they're voting on whether to remove him as CEO. The waiter approached with menus, but Greta waved him away. Look inside the folder, Olive, please. I opened it. Inside was a cashier's check for $2 million. That's everything, she said. Every penny we gained from the engagement, plus compensation for emotional distress. Interesting timing, I said, closing the folder. Considering the SEC investigation starts tomorrow. We can explain those transactions, like you explained to Tamara or the others before me. Greta's facade cracked. You don't understand. We'll lose everything. No, you'll lose what you stole. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. A text from Bryant. Can we talk? Alone. No lawyers, no mother, please. Ah, I showed Greta the message. Right on schedule. He loves you, she tried, desperation creeping into her voice. In his way. His way? I laughed. You mean the way he was still seeing Tamara during our engagement? The way he called me his useful fiancé? We can fix this, she repeated, reaching for my hand. I pulled back. That's the problem, Greta. You think everything can be fixed with money and manipulation, but some things can't be bought back, like dignity or reputation. The door opened and Bryant walked in, looking disheveled in a wrinkled suit. Baby, he started, then saw the folder. Mother, I told you to wait. Sit down, Bryant, I said quietly. Let's talk about Miami. His face went pale. What about Miami? The weekend you were supposedly at a business conference? Tamara kept receipts and photos, very comprehensive ones. That was, I can explain, to me or to the board, because those photos are part of tomorrow's evidence package. He slumped into a chair. What do you want? Just tell me what you want. I want you to understand something, I leaned forward. This isn't about money. This is about consequences. Every woman you used, every deal you manipulated, every lie you told, it all comes due now. We'll lose the house, Greta whispered. The company. 7 days. I stood up, leaving the folder on the table. That's how long Sydney says it will take for the full audit. After that, everything becomes public record. Please, Bryant reached for my arm. For what we had nothing, I pulled away. You had a plan, and I had a grandfather who was smarter than all of us. My phone buzzed again. Sydney. Board vote just came in. Bryant's out. Press release in an hour. I showed them the message. Looks like your time's up. You've destroyed us, Greta said, her voice hollow. No, I walked to the door. You destroyed yourselves. I just showed everyone the truth. As I left, I heard Bryant's voice crack. Mother, what are we going to do? The maitre d' nodded as I passed, and I caught my reflection in the restaurant's polished windows. I looked different somehow, stronger, clearer. My grandfather would have been proud. Outside, Edith waited in her car. How'd it go? Exactly as expected. I buckled my seatbelt. They tried to buy their way out. And tomorrow, the real consequences begin. I smiled. Let's go home. I have a feeling the next few days are going to be very interesting. The mediation room felt smaller than it should have, considering the size of the egos involved. Bryant sat with his new lawyer, his normally perfect hair unkempt, dark circles under his eyes. Greta perched beside him, clutching her designer handbag like a life preserver. Their faces had been all over the financial news for days. Sydney spread documents across the conference table with practiced precision. Let's begin with the final accounting. This is unnecessary, Bryant's lawyer interrupted. We can settle this privately. That time has passed, Sydney replied, not looking up. Now shall we start with the Hamptons house or the embezzlement charges? Greta flinched. The mediator, a stern-faced woman named Judge Roberts, cleared her throat. Please proceed, Ms. Willis. The total amount owed, including returned benefits, legal fees, and penalties, comes to $1,742,000, Sydney announced. Due immediately. This is extortion, Bryant snapped, but his voice cracked. No, I spoke for the first time. This is karma. I pulled out my grandfather's letter, the paper worn from repeated handling. I'd like to read something if the mediator permits. Judge Roberts nodded. My beloved Olive, I began, watching Greta's face, must never be reduced or tolerated. She must be loved, respected, or not married at all. The wealth I leave her isn't meant to attract vultures, but to protect her from them. Edith, sitting beside me, wiped away a tear. Your grandfather was a bitter old man, Greta spat. No, I corrected her. He was a wise man who saw people like you coming from miles away. Would you like to hear what else he wrote? I turned the page. If someone tries to use you for your inheritance, remember, you have the power to make them regret it, not through cruelty or revenge, but through justice. Justice? Bryant laughed harshly. You've destroyed our reputation. The board forced me out. Our social circle has abandoned us. Your reputation? Tamara's voice cut through as she entered the room. Tell them about my reputation, Bryant, the one your mother threatened to ruin when I tried to warn Olive. Bryant went pale. You can't be here. Actually, Sydney interjected, Ms. Watts is a material witness, as are the other women your family manipulated over the years. Would you like me to call them in? That won't be necessary, Judge Roberts said. The evidence is clear. The amount stands. We don't have that kind of money, Greta whispered. Not anymore. Then we'll take the Hamptons house, Sydney replied, and your summer property in Martha's Vineyard. The bank has already agreed to the transfer. You can't. We can and we will, Judge Roberts cut in, unless you'd prefer this moves to criminal court. The silence was deafening. One last thing, I said, standing. Bryant, do you remember what you said at our engagement party about settling for me? He wouldn't meet my eyes. I want you to remember that moment, because that's when you lost everything, not because of my grandfather's money, but because you showed everyone exactly who you are. Is that what this was about? He asked bitterly. Revenge? No, I smiled genuinely for the first time. This was about justice. For me, for Tamara, for every woman you and your mother tried to use and discard. We're not stepping stones to your success. We're not tools for your social climbing. The papers are ready, Sydney announced, sliding documents across the table. Sign, and we'll begin the property transfers immediately. As Bryant and Greta signed with trembling hands, my phone buzzed. A message from Alec. Board just voted to dissolve the company. It's over. I showed the message to Edith, who squeezed my hand. We're done here, Judge Roberts declared, gathering her things. Ms. Willis, please file the executed agreements by tomorrow. As everyone filed out, Bryant made one last attempt. Olive, wait. Maybe we could still... Goodbye, Bryant, I cut him off. I hope the settling was worth it. Outside the mediation room, Tamara waited with the other witnesses, women who'd stepped forward after the story broke. Each had their own story of manipulation and threats from the Steele family. Thank you, one of them said softly, for being the one who finally stood up to them. I looked at these strong, remarkable women, then back at the closed door behind which Bryant and Greta sat in ruins. No, I replied. Thank you for helping me finish what my grandfather started. The autumn breeze rustled through the cemetery as I placed fresh flowers on my grandfather's grave. The marble headstone gleamed in the morning light, his name etched deep and permanent, just like the lessons he'd taught me. "You were right," I said softly, placing my hand on the cool stone. "About everything." "He usually was," a voice said behind me. I turned to see Alec approaching with a small bouquet of his own. "I didn't expect to see you here, Allah," I said. "Your grandfather helped my family once." He placed his flowers beside mine. "When everyone else had written us off, he knew the difference between real worth and social climbing." My phone buzzed. A text from Edith. "Turn on CNBC now." I pulled up the live stream on my phone, Alec looking over my shoulder. The headline scrolled across the bottom: "Steel family assets seized in federal investigation." "They found more," Alec said quietly. "Much more than even I knew about." "Are you okay?" I asked. "You lost your job when the company dissolved." He smiled. "Actually, I start at a new firm next week. Turns out having a reputation for ethical whistleblowing is attractive to some employers." Another text came through, this time from Tamara. "Just got offered a book deal. They want all our stories. Interested in contributing?" "You should do it," Alex said, reading over my shoulder. "People need to hear this story." "It's not just my story," I replied, typing a response. "It belongs to all of us." My phone rang. Sydney calling. "Olive, the Hamptons' house just sold. The proceeds cover the last of their debt obligations. It's done." "How are they?" I found myself asking. "Greta's moved in with her sister in Boston. Bryant." Sydney paused. "He's taken a junior position at a small firm in Milwaukee, starting over, I suppose." After I hung up, Alec touched my arm. "Do you regret any of it?" I looked at my grandfather's grave, remembering his words about justice versus revenge. "No, but I learned something important." "What's that?" "Revenge is easy. Justice is harder. But justice heals, while revenge just makes more wounds." "Speaking of healing," Alex shifted slightly, "would you like to get coffee sometime? Not as Brian's former friend or your ally in all this, but just as me?" I studied him for a moment, his honest eyes, the way he stood respectfully distant, giving me space to choose. "I'd like that," I said. "But not today. Today is for something else." I pulled out an envelope from my bag, the last letter from my grandfather, the one I'd never opened. "Want to hear what else he had to say?" Alex sat with me on a nearby bench as I broke the seal. "My dearest Olive, if you're reading this, you faced a battle and emerged stronger. But strength isn't just about winning. It's about how you carry your victory. Don't let triumph turn to bitterness. Don't let justice become cruelty. You are better than those who would diminish you, not because of your wealth or power, but because of your heart. Your inheritance was never about the money. It was about giving you the freedom to choose love over advantage, truth over pretense, and dignity over social climbing. Choose wisely, live fully, and remember, you'll never see it coming until it's already yours again, your power. All my love, Grandfather." I folded the letter carefully, feeling something settle in my chest, not an ending, but a beginning. "Coffee sounds good," I said to Alec, "but first I need to make a call." I dialed Tamara's number. "About that book. I think I know how we should start it." "How's that?" she asked. "With a toast at an engagement party," I smiled, "and a grandfather who saw it all coming." As I left the cemetery, my phone lit up with messages from the other women, our little survivors club, each rebuilding, each stronger. We'd turned our pain into purpose, our humiliation into hope. I looked back at my grandfather's grave one last time. The morning sun caught the marble just right, making it glow like a beacon. "Thank you," I whispered, then turned toward my future, not as a victim or a victor, but as exactly who I was meant to be.